Hey David, how are you?
Pretty good, Ben. How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome. We're just waiting on people to join.
No worries. How's your Monday going?
Tired.
Where are you located?
Outside of Orlando.
Oh. David, how are you?
Oops. I've got
Pretty good. Ben, how are
I've
you?
got something that should be muted. Not muted. There we go.
We're getting Orlando weather now. I'm in
Yeah.
New York. I'm in New York.
Okay.
It's gonna be about 100.
Yeah. Last week, we were like 110, 111 outside, so it was hot, and it's not August or September.
Yeah, I was in Orlando a few weeks ago for a conference.
Yeah. It's what conference were you here for?
Uh m- um CFO Accelerator, Michael
Okay.
King.
Cool.
I don't know if you've heard of him or
Yeah. I haven't.
it's CFO fractional CFO group.
Cool. Okay. Why are my streams freezing? Experimentation. Just not gonna work. Trying to stream to LinkedIn and YouTube at the same time is very apparently painful. Jim, welcome.
Good afternoon.
We're just starting off, waiting for people to join. There's no structure or agenda, so we can talk about whatever's on you guys' mind. How did you both hear about this?
I think it was the Rand's leadership Slack, something like that.
Cool.
I think somehow I think it came out of Fractionals United.
Oh yeah,
About that.
yeah. Yeah, I started a new Slack, a new free Slack for people since
Right.
they've lost the people who were looking for a free one lost theirs. So see how it goes, see if it gains any traction.
Have you gotten a lot of people or
75 or so, maybe 80. Um, and I mean, I only really advertised it that Monday, and then the next Monday. I haven't done much other than a couple of LinkedIn posts. So um,
right, right.
organic past that. We'll see what happens.
Oh,
I probably need to like advertise it more, but I'm not very good at that.
yeah, I get
Or
that.
fractionals.com if you're reading this, if you're looking at this.
What is it? What fractionals.com?
Or fractionals, FOR fractionals.com. Hey,
Okay.
Steven.
What's up?
We were
Uh,
just talking about the new Slack.
New Slack.
You know, the old Slack. I mean, for you.
I don't know. Like, I mean, Slack is still new to me. You mean old Slack as in IRC or like
Right?
what was that one hip chat? What was that one
I
before?
HipChat won over Slack when we were when we were back to back testing them back in what, like 14.
Yeah.
Um, Slack was fine, but HipChat was better. And then
Was that the one? Yeah.
yeah, and then of course we made HipChat scale past their scaling limits, and they shut down that product almost like the next year. So um
Yeah. I got in trouble at Chef for making a customer facing hip chat. But then I almost got fired and then I was like, well, kinda effing fire me then. And then, like, 5 years later, it's like, it's still now it's the Slack it's, like, the most popular thing. It's, like, the only way that but I remember when we were talking about this, but, yeah, it's all the same to me. I don't know.
right. Hey Dan,
Hey, what's going on?
not too much. It is a Monday. It's a draggy Monday. Um,
Ah,
so I'm gonna rely on you guys to bring things to talk about that are not the weather and not lack of sleep.
both are common topics. I'll just say this. Today I started my very first day on my very first fractional gig, so I'm just getting rolling.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So
What
how
type
long
of fractional work do you do?
Broadly software engineering leadership, CTO, head of engineering type of thing. A little bit more on the people, process, and project side than on the technical side.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
You very much.
How did you find it?
Yeah.
How did you get the
How'd you get
client?
the gig? Oh, sorry. Good. Yeah.
I've been doing a bunch of prospecting through my network. This one came through my brother. He's in the software industry as well. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, this person I know just became CIO at this company, and it sounds like their app dev is kind of on fire, and she wants to talk to you." So that's how I got it.
Perfect. Were you intentionally trying to kind of find some sort of fractional role, or was it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I kind of realized about myself after this many years in my career that what I like is building things from scratch and getting them running, or fixing broken things and getting them running. But once they're running, I kind of lose interest.
Right.
Not conducive to ongoing long-term full-time employment. So why don't I just honor that and just build or fix things for a living?
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about the consulting business is just going in like, what do you need done? Okay, we've scoped it to this much.
Mm.
Get it off.
I don't know. I was going to be like, shame on you. You know that nothing is built. It's all maintenance and repair. That's all it all is. Like, yeah.
I've had the good fortune of being at a couple of, just raw startups where you built the whole function from the ground up. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. That's what I mean. But did you build anything of value? No. Like, it's all maintenance and repair, right? Like, this is like we geniusly designed it and just had to build it. It's like, but
That's a
no,
good
I'm
point.
just, this is like more where I'm at, like technically, but that's real philosophical. But yeah. No, I mean, but yeah, wouldn't everybody, right? Like, that's the thing. Unfortunately, I've been finding that you can't, it's mostly my career, especially at DevOps, has been fixing broken ass stuff, like uneffing everything, right? Right. And it's high burnout work, very high burnout work.
Sure.
That's why my beard's great. I'm only 22. No.
Hey,
If
I was almost this gray at 22. So
Yeah.
at 21,
Yeah. David's 17 and I'm 18.
So Ben, what side of the field are you in?
I do fractional CFO work.
Okay.
So I had 25 years in public accounting. I launched my business last year, fourth quarter last year.
Okay.
I'm
So,
about, I don't know, 6-7 months into it.
right. How was tax season?
I don't do taxes.
Don't
So
do
it's the
taxes.
best tax season I had in 25 years.
Smart.
Nice.
I don't own any tax software. Didn't do a tax return. I was going to hire somebody to do mine, to be honest with you. I was so like over it.
Fair. That's
No, I just got burnt out. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I launched my own business
yeah.
last fall.
So
And,
which
my only regret is I didn't do it 3 or 4 years ago.
right. So I'm curious, from your side of it, what does fractional look like? I mean, the other four of us are all in the tech side, so there's I've found that there's some differences in what like the meaning of fractional in different spaces.
So what I'm doing is I'm working with companies that do anywhere from 5 to 40, $50 million in revenue. They can't necessarily afford a full-time CFO, but they have some needs with strategic planning, budgeting, forecasting. I have a client looking to sell the private equity, so I'm on all his calls with the negotiations and helping him understand the terminology and just what do they mean and reviewing the letters of intent and stuff like that.
Right.
Other clients I'm helping forecast their cash flow and budgeting and helping them achieve or driving the direction of what they want to do.
Gotcha. But not like running a team of accountants, not doing their books on a regular basis.
I'm not doing their
just-
books. So the clients usually have their own bookkeeper,
Right.
that I sort of oversee, and I'm a resource for them if they have questions or they come across problems. I'm also making sure that things look like they're getting reported right and getting done timely, and because you can't make good decisions if you don't have accurate information.
So oversight, advisory, being that financial leg of the stool in conversation.
Confidant for the owner, has nobody to talk to, so they drive to work and sometimes they get crazy ideas of what they want to do or but they don't have people to talk to.
Right.
So they'll talk to them about it and stuff like that.
Cool.
I find it more interesting than just doing compliance work, sitting and cranking out a tax return and handing it to someone. This is more really to what Jim said earlier, helping them grow their business, get them really going, achieve their goals, uncover the problems,
Yep. Diego, welcome.
Hello.
How's the next Monday of your fractional journey going?
It's been quiet. I know we had a couple of holidays last week, so it's been a short week. I haven't done much, so I am kind of restarting this week.
Cool.
Playing again with AI tools.
Right.
Yeah.
Figuring out what's new this month.
Yeah. The last hour, I know. It seems.
Yeah. It's changing so often. Right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but finally I was able to have a functional application with these platforms that build apps using AI. Replit work for me. I've tried like 6 or 7 of the tools. Most of them fail at the very beginning.
Right.
But Replit has some issues, but you can have a functional application very, very quickly.
How much of your engineering knowledge ended up having to be used to get it to work, or were you able to kind of like stay purely in the product side?
I don't know. The thing is, I spent the first hours doing it by myself. Hello. And then I passed that to my brother-in-law, who is a non-tech guy, and he was able to continue. So I was able to start focusing on the product side of things. That was an interesting experiment because I have a non-tech guy developing the application.
Right.
That's interesting.
That's kind of cool.
So yeah, so now I am more focused on the product side of things. But it is still slow and very early because it's been only 2 or 3 weeks playing with this.
Right.
So I need more time.
Jay-Z, welcome. How was your fractional journey?
Oh, thanks, David. We met through Rands.
Yep.
And it's good. I have some speaking opportunities at Microsoft, and they're going to speak at my Stanford group. So, I do a lot of acquisition of new clients through public speaking and events. So it's a long journey, but it does work. So that's been good to sign last week. Yeah.
Yeah. Are your when you're doing the kind of speaking events, are those recorded so you have access to them later, and to reshare them, or is it just really just one time?
Yes. So I do live virtual events that are recorded.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, virtual makes it so much easier to record than standing.
Yeah.
Standing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And then when I have prospects, I'm like, oh, go watch minute 37. They're like, oh, okay, I get it now. So
that corpus of you is so valuable. I mean, especially in the video field, but in general for all of us, right? When we can record the things that we do and be able to use that either for our own review, or if you can extract it out and hand it off to customers and leads, that's very powerful.
Yeah, I find, well, a lot of executives are men, and they have like hundreds of hours of video recordings, but the CTOs that I've worked with are like, do not record me. Like you can make an avatar, but do not record me. So I'm just curious from this group if you guys record yourself or you're like, never. Yeah.
100%. I record myself all the time. I've
Alright.
gotten past that hurdle. I mean, I realized the value of it. Mostly, I just record voice though, right? In conversations, I mostly just record voice. I don't do video, and then I have access to transcripts, and I can go back to the audio if I need to. And I use that for AI analysis. I use that for creative content development. I use that just to help myself remember what was going on. Especially when it comes down to you go through 4 sales conversations and I need to build a proposal. And
What did I promise? Yeah.
what did I promise? Right. Or really the better is how can I use the language that they used about their problem and turn that around and put it in the proposal. So they recognize the language, it becomes in their words, their problem, instead of it making it my words, my problem. Because that's really valuable to me when they read through that proposal and they see that echoed back to them. And I can't do that from memory.
Yeah. I'm very much a never record me. I'm like the opposite. I'm like more because
I knew
so
it.
much it takes so much production, like to be able to, like, I don't know, maybe it's my production background and music background. Like it's one thing to like record meetings, I think is more the thing, but making videos that are like, here's the video, the production level has to be at a certain level or I'm like, no. And then so I'll make these recordings of my own and then say like, let's hire an actor. And then like, you know what I mean? Like you don't, so, but, I think we have to be really careful. One thing I really don't like the trend in the last 10 years where all these like Google employees go take a class and they're the ones talking. I'd much rather just hear an actor saying the thing better than these like BS tech folks trying to sound like they know how to speak in camera. Like it really grates me, like especially the NVIDIA guy. I really don't like hearing him talk. Like I'd rather, so I don't know, like, but maybe that's a minority opinion. So I have a lot of
value
thoughts
is a
about
problem.
that. Yeah.
You just know too much. That's a problem. When I was in my 20s, I was a radio disc jockey, and I couldn't listen to the radio for the next 20 years without critiquing everything about the station. So yeah,
I put out a bunch of YouTube videos just on the topic of DevOps and that sort of thing. But the thing is, the target market it found was guys who were basically just like myself, David, and that sort of thing. Like, hey, here's some really interesting, stuff. Here's some jokes about our industry, that sort of thing. That was great, but it wasn't going to give me any business unless I had something else to go along with it. Like, I don't want to spend time making a class right now. It's like I could, sure, but it's not me.
it's early days for me yet, but I'm already starting to find that somebody wants to talk to me about something that's going on in their company, and I run off the top of my head about what I've seen in that area and kinds of approaches I've seen to fix it. And they say, "Do you have anything like you can share with me about that?" So I go really quickly write a and then send it to them. Right.
Right.
And so I've had a software blog for, I don't know, 10 years, and it's increasingly becoming just content marketing on a small basis for those cases.
Yeah, I think that's great for SEO because, for my podcast, I still have to transcribe it to get it to be content marketing for SEO. But Jim, for people who don't like to be on camera and you like to write, that's the shortcut.
I do like to write, yeah.
Yeah. Writing's a lot easier, but it's also one of those things that you're going after a different market. And typically, like my gardening blog gets a lot more traction than my tech writings does, just simply because there's I have more useful information distilled down from research papers into that than I do on my stuff. I'm like, hey, here's my trick to actually surviving cloud formation. Like, okay, cool, yeah, that's great, but it's like, yeah, there's how many cloud engineers that specialize in AWS exist?
The
40,000.
The challenge when we talk about content for our business,
Yeah,
aligning it to our buyers. And Jim's is awesome here, right? He's talking to his buyers because they've already bought from him.
right.
You're having a conversation and you're inspired by something, especially if they ask for it, right? Now you produce it on the fly. You take the conversation, you turn it into an article, whether you're doing it entirely in your head or using your AI tools, your LLMs or whatever else. But now you have that. And for everybody else who is in that same space, it's going to align with them. And do you hand it back to the person who asked, share it with the world, and now other people like that person are going to recognize themselves in that and say, oh, this is me. I'm going to start building a trust in Jem, even though I haven't talked to him.
And I'm finding a lot of these conversations I have end up being sort of zeitgeist anyway, surprisingly. And so I write an article about it and I share it on LinkedIn, and people are like, oh my gosh, I'm having that same problem. So it's crazy.
Everybody's having the same problem all the time. That is the universal truth.
Well, maybe, Daniel, for the people who have the problem, they don't want to hear the solution. They just want to hear about their problem, right? So if someone's hiring more DevOps or, for video and lifetime streaming, then they're not going to be like, oh, well, this is the transcoder that we have to use. It's more like, my system is failing in real time, or, if you could change your content to be more about the problem,
Look,
like, would you still want to write about it?
Yeah, sure, but I
It's
don't know what their problem is.
right. See, and this was I have the same problem that Dan had as far as when it comes to trying to produce content from that hat of the DevOps engineer in the DevOps world, is we never know what problem we're solving. And we don't know who our buyer is, and it's the problem of the generalist, right? We're a very specialized generalist, and that makes it very hard to think about that. And we built, so when at least when and I know Dan's works, so I feel I can comment on his. We've talked about this before. That we end up building it to align to us. So I produce something that Dan wants to read, and Dan produces a video I want to watch, but we're never buyers. And
Oh, they're different economic buyers. It's not
Yes.
always the same title.
Right.
So we have to figure out how this is my own challenge, is figuring out how to turn that around and say, stop talking about my problems and talk about your problems. Now,
That's really good.
with the pivot to fractional coaching, I found this easy because I got out of talking about DevOps problems and how we were solving it. And I'm talking about how fractionals have a problem with the business side, right? How the things that we don't think about. You're good at your job. You're a good CFO, you're a good CTO, you're a good DevOps engineer. Diego, you're a good whatever it is you consider yourself to be these days. But I'm just picking on you. Transitioning out of agency. So, but not necessarily good at figuring out how to price and package the problems that you have. So when I look at, and I've spent years talking to people about pricing and packaging to learn this for myself, so it became very easy to then start talking about pricing and packaging and align it, instead of aligning it to the generalist consultant or the this or the that, then I just align it back to the fractional, and it starts to hit the audience, and I get that feedback, I get that reaction. And so I finally got to see it in action because I could never get myself there. I still don't know how to do it for business, for the fractional business, but at least it's a proof of concept that this does work. Which is what everyone says it does, right? But now I get to see it for myself.
I figure all this stuff we're doing is just iterative experiments, and we back into what works for us.
Yeah. The last week we're still in paperwork, but we might be signing. We're basically in paperwork to sign 2 fractional DevOps engagements, but some of it's coming from the training I was doing, which is basically around people that usually have background. It's not everyone has a background, but felony backgrounds and stuff. They got jobs. They went in as a DevOps engineer, sort of, and then their companies it kind of realigned around what DevOps is, like what it really is. And a couple of them were like, where did you learn this? Basically. And so the sort of education angle. But what I pitched was, hey, don't hire us to do your DevOps. Hire me to work with the person I was already working with. I'll I'll spend a couple hours and you don't have to do the sort of mental transfers or documentation or anything. Let's like don't hire a DevOps engineer. Let's just upskill someone at your company. But we're there to catch you. And if you want, you can buy more delivery services, sure. But why not just do that? Both of them, that was like a home run swing, both times, home
Nice.
run. Except in a way, I am still selling my time, right? Which is like but the sort of let's meet a couple hours at the beginning of the week or an hour. You will figure out what you're working on, and then if you want, we can work on it together. Otherwise, let's check in at the end of the week directionally. So this is like kind of a delivery mode for the fractional thing. So, and I'll let you know how it goes. But the only thing that makes me nervous is slicing and dicing your time. You don't want to do 5 2-hour things in one day. It's really hard to switch context. But other than that, this could be a really interesting way to approach it.
So,
That I think. Yeah.
Steven, do you mind talking about pricing? You can talk about super general round numbers or made up numbers, but I'm curious, if
how to price that,
how you priced and structured that. Yeah.
So we also have software. So the main goal of the company is not to do services. The services company was a kind of the accident. We've bootstrapped, so we've taken no funding. So it's like, how are we going to make our ideas, or how are we going to do this better? Well, we got to do it. But from day one, we said we only deliver this way. And so if they buy this, and then now 5 years later, it's more apparent that this is starting to transition where they buy the software now, which is super affordable, like less than $1,000 a month. And then basically we just do a bucket of hours. That's it. And so like I did it, anywhere between $100 and $200 an hour. I keep it really like low end most of the time because the whole point is to change how people think about the software and it's like kind of the whole enchilada. Because it's not just software. We know it's people, it's background, it's training and software.
Right.
And so basically, yeah, so we end up with these, anywhere between like 5 to 10 hours a week. Really big would be 40. I can't do a 40-hour a week, although we have some 20-hour a week stuff. So you're saying 20 hours a week and then 5 and then 10, at about 200. So like between 3, 6, 12, but I think the sweet spot, you could have a dedicated sort of fractional DevOps engineer around 15 grand a month. If they're working how we're working, I'll put it that way. Sure. Not delivering in the normal ways and not writing a bunch of Terraform or anything, nothing like that, but effectively, like, I think so. Ideally you're getting like 15 to 20,000 a month. And that's cheaper than a DevOps engineer. And that then is a company that promises to deliver, and we scope monthly.
Right.
So we say every month, but there's still the sort of, we put hours. So it ends up being, you have to put on paper. And I just hope we never have to get to well, you said 10 hours.
You don't have to. The trick here is you don't have to put hours on paper.
We try not to. We say
you don't have to commit to hours at all, right? You can just talk about the thing that you're delivering, which may just be conversations. I mean,
right.
Like we mentioned that could just be the thing you're delivering, and you remove the hours component from it completely, and you charge monthly. And now you stop having that worry. Is this? I mean, this is an internal, not external worry, right? Internally, you want to know, did we spend 5 or did we spend 20 hours a week with this client this week? But you don't have to present that to the customer because they're just paying their $15,000 a month to make sure that you're available. Yeah. And as long as they're happy, right, you're delivering happy.
100%. But ideally, not one customer in 5 years has been able to like not put hours for.
I've never had a problem with it. I
think because we're doing delivery, it's different. I don't know. We just say, but they're still paying a flat. It's so ridiculous. It's still a flat. We fit it every month. The amount of money is everything you say. But to get through it, they're always like, we have not been able to do that. And that's been that we're slowly cracking that services work thing. But I think a lot of this is because we still do delivery, which is not just, that's a very different thing where we're putting code into delivery.
I've done flat rate, 10, 20, 30, right? I've done this flat rate and just say, this is what it's going to be. And we're targeting something like this so that we understand the page that we're on, but I just make it clear I don't track time, I don't report time.
Yeah, I think what
I
makes
know.
us different is that we have software. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I know I'm in a different industry than you guys. I don't ever talk about time at all. I left public accounting and I swore I was never going to track an hour or looking at an hour again. Now I try to keep track internally for myself, but I just scope out my work and I come up with an estimate of what I think it's going to take every month. And that's what I go with. And then I tell them flat out in my letter, I'm not tracking time. I won't submit timesheets.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't submit time.
And
We don't do that.
I have a scope of work. It's different than with you guys. I'm not delivering sounds like a software
I mean, a
product.
lot of when
I have a scope of work that I'm doing, and if they're like, oh, we're going to do an acquisition, we need you to go help with then that's outside the scope, and then my arrangement changes.
exactly, and like you mentioned, your basic structure is oversight, advisory, and that hand wavy thing that comes out of other conversations, right?
Right.
And so there's no hard and fast deliverable. So you're not building, you're not doing, you're not sending. You're just there in conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, I help them build models for cash flow and forecasting and stuff, but it's not what you guys are doing.
Are you helping them do it, or are you building it for them and handing it to them? I mean, if you're,
I do most of it, and I go over with them, or I help them like a dashboard, and I go over a dashboard,
right,
with them, where I look for trends or problems, and I bring them,
Yeah, that's very similar to a lot of what we end up with, depending on how one structures what they're doing. If they're not just, being the lead engineer, a lot of it is figuring out how the team is performing. If you're working with the team as a CTO, or, understanding where the problems are. So it sounds like there's a lot of commonality. So
when I sell it to them, I sell it that they can call me or email me when they want.
Yes.
Now I'm not at the capacity where I need to put restrictions on that. So right now, and no one's abused it or no one goes crazy. No one's calling me on the weekends. No one's called me at 11 o'clock at night. Or
the way I've found that unlimited access like this works,
it helps selling it, I think.
That it's tied to a person or a known set of people, right? It might be 2 people, but it is a fixed set. And these are busy people.
Right.
They're not going to call you on the weekend and say, hey, Dave, what can you do to help us with this thing and blah, blah, blah. Or they're also not going to be asking me to go work independently and go produce this thing. Because as long as I make it clear that everything we're doing is together, they basically can't abuse my time because they're busy.
Right.
And that unlimited availability part of my retainer is the major value. I mean, because then when they do need to, and they call me on the weekend or they call me at 3 a.m., well, I don't guarantee I will respond. If I'm available, I will respond, right? I guarantee a next business day response, right? And that's a loosely controlled, but easy, right? If they call me at 8 p.m. on Friday or 3 a.m. on Friday, and I respond by 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. on Monday, I'm still next business day. But I try to respond as soon as possible, right? But I'm not on call.
I like that. But how does that work if they're not technical? They're not going to be like pair programming with you.
Oh, right, exactly. So I end up with 2 different sets of customers, one way or the other, right? The less
just the coaching customers.
Okay. But even on the other side, so if I'm working with an HR rep, right? If I'm working with the head of human resources because they recognize that they have a missing skill set in their team and they need me to work with their team members, right? And this is kind of a little bit different, but then I'm here to help upskill them. I'm here to look for the problems that are going on and inform, not inform on, right? What this head of HR who's looking to understand what's going on in this team and where the gaps are and why teams aren't working together, right? I might be brought in by a COO or a CEO or a CTO. Sometimes I'm brought in when the CTO is gone. They've just been fired or they're about to be fired. And so I'm working with this team to understand what's going on over here in the technical front, and the people and process side of things, but then inform the rest of the business in a way that makes sense to them so they can help understand and help fill them in on that gap of what was wrong with that CTO relationship, right? Did you have the person with the wrong skill set? Did they take the wrong focus? Were they looking at this like a 500-person team and you've got 5 people, right? Did they, did you hire a CTO who was just out of Google and has never worked in anything except Google for the last 10 years? What was it, right? So I help them understand and debug and diagnose that. And so that's all really conversational. There's technical knowledge experience on my side.
I see.
But I'm not delivering its technical solution.
Yeah. We're like the
I see.
opposite. We're the other side, which is I do very little fractional CTO work that Dave is describing. We're almost fractional DevOps delivery. You don't need a DevOps team. We come in and we will do your DevOps, literally. But there's usually a CTO. We've had this conversation earlier in these copies, or what do you do if there's a CTO there? Almost all the time there's a CTO there when we're engaged. It's not, so I could do that, but I don't. We're mostly fractional delivery, which can be very different.
So Ben, you're saying you don't charge. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
You're saying you don't charge like by time, you just charge by deliverable because
I feel between Ben and David here, like, so you ever heard this thing? You could be weird on like 2 things, but not 3. Like if you want to close the deal, like, it's been a challenging environment the last couple of years. It is not easy to get people to give you money. And on top of that, we have a very counter DevOps argument. Like we're very different. On top of that, we have software that we're pre-consensus they've never heard of. And then also I'm coming in telling them kind of they need to do all this stuff that is like a bowl of broccoli. And so in some ways, it's like this weird, you want the business, but you can't push too hard because you don't want to, you know what I mean? It's almost like it's kind of complicated. So in some ways,
you're trying to not scare them off.
Yeah, you don't want to scare them off. Or stranger danger.
I want to scare them off. I want them to tell me all the reasons that they shouldn't hire me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then get hired. And we're similar. But then when it really comes down to it, when we're talking about we did basically delivery-led growth, right? Like, or services-led growth, how they talk about product-led growth. Because at the end of the day, talking about it is cool, but it's even better if you can kind of help deliver it too. And that helped us because we're a little bit on the software side and the way it's delivered is our main difference. There's a lot of people that can come in and say, basically, like we all agree, there is a consensus a bit on DevOps. It exists and and CTO kind of stuff. But when you get down to the delivery, I think there's some really big differences in what you can do. And like I said, we're not there to just consult on what was done. We also do it very different. And so sometimes the only way to get in is they kind of are like, well, let's just get a bucket of hours and treat it like a contractor. And we come in. And then after that, they start to see, oh, you deliver very different. There's all kinds of stuff we don't understand about your approach. And we like that you're very knowledgeable. And then they start being they like us. They keep us. If that makes sense. So, but that's, it's been tough, but it works. So if they say we need to put hours in the contract, I'm like, cool, but we don't track hours. We just kind of do. I would love to say we're just retainer because it's really more what it is, but it's been really difficult to get through the procurement people. It's just at the end of the line, it's whatever they're going to write on the line.
What size orgs, Steven?
We've been kind of getting more startups, so that's really tough too.
Yeah.
Startups don't want to give you money. It's tough to get money from startups. So it's the pain of not hiring a DevOps department or working with an outside. And really what the biggest challenge we come up against is everyone wants full-time employees because that's better for the business for a lot of reasons. Orchestrating outside of that, maybe Ben would have better. I don't know why people fight so hard between full-time employment or doing it because we could do the work of 10 full-time employees a lot better. But they would rather have that person. I think it's because they can get more hours out of them or whatever. But I don't know.
Well, it may just be a perception problem. Like,
maybe
you can tell a full-time employee to do X, Y, and Z or else. And if you tell me X, Y, or Z, and I'm basically going to be like, okay, well, let's look at the termination clause on this contract, and we'll go from there.
Right to the mat.
Like,
Daniel's just like,
I use that. I use that to the flip side. That if you hire an employee, it's maybe a little more difficult to get rid of them if it doesn't work out.
that's
Whereas
what I think.
my
Yeah.
engagements are month to month. You can fire me at any time. I and so the way I sell it is if I'm not giving you a return on my investment, a return on what you're paying me to do, you can just fire me and we both can go our separate ways and wish each other luck.
So,
Yeah,
Stephen,
they'll fire.
the things that make this work, when in my experience, right? I offer a guarantee. And this comes along with you pay me up front. So you pay me for the first month up front. You pay me for the second month up front, but you pay me that, toward the end of the first month. And if any time in that 30 days, and sometimes that's 15 days, it kind of depends on the scope of the engagement, what it looks like. If this doesn't work and you say, I want my money back, I'm going to hand you your money back and run away happy, right? Because I failed.
Hmm?
And so
self-fire, right?
I've never, exactly, right? And if I'm in there and I find out this isn't working, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to refund your money and walk away from this because this isn't working, right? And that tool right there helps them stop thinking about hours entirely.
Hmm?
Because now they see that unlimited access policy, right? That they can call me, text me, email me, Slack me. I'll get back to them. They can ask me any questions that they need. And that lack of specific scope actually helps because the scope is we're talking about it and learning it as we go. But by getting paid in advance for the retainer, because they paid me in advance, they clearly know I'm not billing hourly. That's part of it. But that 30-day guarantee means satisfaction is a guarantee. And then after that, if it's not working out for some reason, well, clearly we made it past the first month. We're working out. When it's ready to wrap up, you don't pay me for next month and we're done.
Yeah, we don't have the bootstrap, but we don't have the resources to do that. But that's why we do the monthly. So basically, we're more like a loan. Like it's literally technical debt. So we basically say, what are we going to do this month? And no matter what, we do something. No one gets any money back because it's uncertain. Like there is no way to predict. I couldn't charge ahead of time because we don't even really know. We say an imagined thing and then we deliver it. And sometimes it doesn't work. But that's a shared problem. It's never our fault, all wholly, like ever. I mean, that's kind of the thing. So but I have said we'll self-fire if it's not what we thought we were going to land.
Yeah. I'd love to dig in someday and experiment with you around how you might be able to structure this differently as an experiment, right?
I'd love to, because we're open to it because it's, again, the whole point of, philosophically, the whole point of technology, IT, and DevOps is reducing uncertainty.
Right.
The problem is you have to, it's computationally irreducible. You have to do it to find out. So no matter what, you're going to do work semantically or value-wise, or what we call valorization. At the end of the month, you have to check that. Was this the thing? Was this valuable or not? Should we stop or not? But you still have to. So what they're really paying for is the computation of us working towards something. Like we jogged a couple miles this month and we stop and we look. It's not as much about what to do or whatever, because at the end, you always got to start with some kind of idea. But even if we've a lot of times landed, I feel like this is sort of the edge of DevOps now is like, there isn't a known anymore. You just pick a point, you go towards it and you iterate, you very carefully do step by step, you truly steer, and that will keep you on track if they're willing to go on the journey, and they will end up somewhere. Yeah.
The other thing I do for a new engagement is I have an onboarding fee. So when I take on a new client, I can charge anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 day one. That's paid one-time fee, and then you instantly start the monthly retainer.
Yeah, I've experimented with that. I really like the idea because I always spend those first week or two way more engaged. Sometimes the first month, but definitely that first week or two because I'm getting into all their tools.
And you're learning a lot about the stuff, so you can spend a lot of extra time going back and assessing where they are. For me, where they are today, who owns the company, the structure,
And I can easily justify it when we start to talk about it because it's like, I'm going to spend that week just learning about you. I'm going to spend that 2 weeks worrying about you, talking to all of your team members. I mean, this is my approach, right? And that now I get to do it in crunch instead of we'll spread this out over the next 6 months and you're paying for it over the next 6 months.
Right.
I'm going to learn all that now.
I mean, on occasion, I'll work with them, maybe have it over a 2-month period or a couple of payments, but it's not going to be dragged out for 6 or 7 months.
Right.
I think one thing that might be different, just so people kind of can see some contrast. Literally, all the work, everything we do is encapsulated in how we deliver in the software so I almost now, after the last few years, I don't know what people were doing before. So like, it's very so there's an actual artifact. There's a description. It's almost like the SOW is the delivery because you can run it, and that kind of thing. And so now that we're doing that, I'm wondering like how, that's why I said the core to our business is that we deliver in our own software, which is a control layer that says whether you got the thing or not. And so that's almost like a smart contract, not the ones that people talk about, not the bit thing, but it is literally when we write the SOW, we just go and write the test and we run that on the computers and then they see it or they don't. And so I think this is a really different way to work. Whereas I think before this, there's sort of the soft stuff where you're talking, like, you said we changed their minds, but I think it's very different if you think of it as literally like, what did we gave you 10 grand. And sometimes you'd say, I don't think there's any services work anymore that isn't some kind of artifact or code. They're not they're not paying you to like dance around or type. There's like hours of typing. There's an actual deliverable. Ours, we can describe, it's an actual artifact. Like it's a thing that you can look at. I think that's what's also very different. Where before, I think we spent a lot of time on contracts and sort of the ass covering of contracts and all this stuff. The SOWs are really detailed because no one really knows. It's like pretending we're going to know what happens. Whereas we just say, look, just pick a lighthouse. We're going to drive there. And then we're going to look. And was this a good place to be? And then we do it again. But there ends up being an actual, like point by point, truthful, like a truth table, literally of like, did you get your Kubernetes? Yes or no? Is your app built? Yes or no? As a runnable thing. This is what's very different about maybe modern IT consulting is now we can actually draw up the mortgage and we literally pay it down. And if we did it, you could see it. So this is interesting compared to before. I don't even know what we're doing before. We just said, remember the SOWs where it says like, this is what we're going to do. And then you
ignore all
you work
of it?
a week, like you said, and then 3 weeks arguing over whether you did it. And then next month you do month 2 and you're still arguing over month 1. We don't have that problem, which is interesting. But it's hard to get people's minds to change that that we don't need much of an SOW, just 1 month, and let's just pick a point and let's move. And then from there, let's see where we're at.
One of the biggest differences I've had since I left public accounting is when I was selling in public accounting, someone had to buy their tax return preparation or they had to buy a financial statement. In fractional world, I have to create them understanding more of the financial pain that they have.
Right.
And then they help quantify that to get them to move. There's not a triggering event. There's no deadline. So the sales cycle can take a lot longer because I don't have an April 15th due date, March 15th, like where they have to buy from somebody, whether it's me or somebody else. This is a little bit more, feel their pain. There's not a triggering event that says you got to do it today or right away.
Like, do you find that easier or harder to sell?
I've had to convert to that, and I'm finding that I have to be more patient with the sales process. It's a little bit more in stages because I have to draw out from them and try to quantify the problems they're having and how if they invest in me, there's going to be a sizable return on that investment. So it's a worthwhile investment.
Are you familiar with the why conversation?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Alan Wise, Jonathan Stark use this heavily. It's often looped into value-based pricing, but it's not exclusive to value-based pricing. But that part, and Alan Wise just put out a new book, I think, that like about the 4 conversations. So kind of breaking that up into four pieces. And I wish I had fully internalized this thing yet to talk about it, but I haven't. But it kind of breaks that up a little bit more, and I think that sounds like it's kind of what you're talking about, where
Right.
getting them to you are working through the process of getting them to tell you about their pain.
You're just asking questions.
Yeah.
And they're just, and you're building it up.
Yeah.
And then you can come in on how for X dollars you can hopefully solve.
And then you say, okay, now why not solve this problem on your own? And they're like,
Right.
because we don't have any knowledge, any expertise.
Or what have you
Well,
tried?
Why
What have
not
you
use
tried?
your bookkeeper to do this, right? Or
What have you tried? What have you
Yes.
tried to do? What have you?
Yep.
Right.
And when they run out of it, then they know that you're the solution
Right.
because they've tried everything else, and
Right.
now you're the only option.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But like for Ben, like, okay, so say you do 3 months and they're like, okay, we feel good, right? But what is the thing you observe as evidence? What do they look at as evidence of the ROI, right? Like the dollar, I mean,
Well, for some
know
of
what
the
I mean?
things like their profitability improves, their cash flow improves. Some of their profitability on customers. I had a client, the construction client this past winter, they weren't tracking their jobs. They didn't know if they made money on clients or not made money on clients. And I led a team to get their job costing software populated with the information so they can say, okay, project XYZ, we don't make money on, or we do make money on, and stuff like that.
So there's that
Um,
legitimate like delta that you can show
Yes,
an
I mean,
ROI.
there's been a number of expenses where I've gone into with them and we've broken down, and there's tens of thousands of dollars of waste,
Yeah.
but
So, like,
nobody's looked at it. And then sometimes it's just a mindset. It's just changing the mindset of their senior executives about expenses, about profitability, about margins. That's driving home a mindset because I'm asking questions, and it's just changing a whole culture sometimes. That somebody's looking at the numbers now.
Am
You know?
I wrong to feel that that's DevOps?
Well, I was going to ask you, David, like, so David, you obviously go and say, now that we're on GitHub Actions, here's where the money's getting
Right.
higher. There's a whole, the problem with computer work is that it's completely subject. Like, it's one thing to have it done. Like you say, we're going to give you $5 million to take us to the cloud or help us get to the cloud. And then in 2 years, they go, are we in the cloud? And you show them like Terraform scripts, or like, what does it even mean to be in, like, this is
Right.
the hard part. So what we
But
end
see,
up
that's
being
why
is-
we start the conversation
very
differently.
difficult.
They say, help take me to the cloud. And we say, why go to the cloud?
Yeah, you got to make it
Because
something more like what Ben's saying.
Once
right?
they tell you why, you can put those as check marks, right? And
Yeah.
say, okay, we achieved the why. And that why was often something that should be coming from the CFO's office.
Could be. It could be purely technical. Could be financial. Some of the companies print money. Like
we
they don't.
We
yeah.
don't want to write another $50 million check this year for hardware. We want to move. We want to stop doing capital investments. We want to make these operational expenses.
Yeah.
That's why we moved to the cloud. And then why do we want to move back out of the cloud? For the same reason.
Right.
The other way around.
I'll
We've
be
got this big
honest,
surplus of cash that we need to get a tax reduction over the next couple of years.
and I'll be honest. When I look at it from my perspective, you guys have a wealth of knowledge way beyond me when it comes to the computer side of stuff. And I find that whenever I meet with the computer side of a company, it's a foreign language to me.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I can't even say
Understood.
you're right. I no idea. And
That's the bridge.
I
That's
often laugh that the
That's the
best
bridge
thing
I
that
helped build, by the way.
Or
can
that's
do
where
is
I am
dumb
like,
it
you guys are getting
down.
taken. This is like.
But
yeah.
but if I don't but that also puts a lot more no's and a lot not if I don't fully understand it.
And this is the problem that we face on this on the tech side, and even more
Yes.
so on DevOps, because DevOps is often shoved down here in a box in a corner, and then they close the door and they lock it and put tape around it, and they don't want no one wants to talk to these people, right? And vice versa. These people, I'm identifying as one of these people, please. So please take this with my grain of salt. We don't want to talk to you guys,
people.
but we need to. We need to
Yes.
because we are
Yes.
the expense. Sysadmin, IT, DevOps, we are often viewed as just an expense, and we are disconnected from revenue and costs and all these things, and we're not. We directly
My mindset is every part of your income statement's a return on investment.
yes.
Right. But
So
every single piece is coming on Ben, what part of any company you work with anymore that their business isn't happening on computers? So 100% of
yes,
that bottom
sure.
line is happening on a computer. This is the freak out that everyone's having, which is the thing we do on the computers, like what I do is so far away from like this like business CFO world, but it's like, and so like this is the thing that I think we're just beginning this journey to start to attack that delta between like how does giving your developers a Mac or a Linux machine affect the ROI on the cost center of the business over the next 5 years of success of doing whatever. These are like no one knows, right? No one knows. But you could project if we do this, this, and this, I'm projecting that these numbers will go up. But when you tie it all the way down to running code or picking what cloud or even package updates or using Git or like just this stuff now is part of that because it's the whole business is on the computer now. There is no business. We shouldn't even say tech companies or companies. They're just companies.
I've
And,
said
like,
that for
there's
so
just-
long now.
yeah.
Everyone's a tech company. They're just not
Yeah.
paying attention.
And I think me and David are like really on that edge of like, they come in and they describe their business. And I think really it's now, we said this last week too, you're in the cloud or we did a bunch of computer stuff. Do you still see your business on the computer? I think that's the struggle is people are having trouble seeing their business on the computer. And then what bits are we flipping to make it seem like that way? So everything you do, Ben, is like, you're going to tell us a financial plan and then we're going to go flip a bunch of bits. When we come back around, how do we prove that the flipping these bits correlates to your ROI? This is the trickiest part. It's really hard.
We don't have to.
I have.
Oh, I didn't say I wasn't trying to.
Oh
say
no, you're
it's,
good. Yeah, you're good.
It's and it's an easy calculation. By any stretch of the imagination, it's a difficult conversation. But I think from my perspective, you need to know who you're speaking to, and even if they understand it, I could quote tax code here and get glazed look from everybody on the screen. You have to understand who you're talking to, and if you talk I'll be honest, a lot of the conversation here, I have no idea what you're talking about, no idea. And I'm not mad at you guys, but I'm just saying you guys are talking in lingos, and I'm like, I have not a clue what the abbreviations stand for and what you're saying. And if you go into an executive talking like that, you're going to get a glazed look, and you're not going to.
Right. Well,
I'm not going to know what I'm buying.
That's why we
If
have
you're
to
asking
talk
me
about.
to buy something, I don't even know what I'm buying.
We have to talk
Exactly.
about the business outcome, and the business outcome is usually money, right? There are a few exceptions, but most businesses are driven by money. So why did we do this thing? We did it to make more money, right? Okay, how did this thing make more money? That's the conversation we need to have so we can get all the pieces to connect.
Or not lose money, but yeah.
Yeah, well, by making money, reducing expenses, blah 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 blah, but somewhere, right?
Yeah.
There's a thing. And usually though, while we're reducing expenses were spent because we were making money.
Yeah, I think the conversation I have now with someone like Ben's got a good point. I don't have a jargon-laced thing. What we describe now is the technology we're talking about. What we're here to help you is to reduce uncertainty about your business on the computers because you don't know this world as well. But we also need to reduce uncertainty about what it is you even know about your computers that you have now and your computer workers, right? And so like this whole thing becomes in a way observability, like trying to say, look, we're never going to like have an easy translation, but we can start to have you look. We can allow you to look into your technical side of the business and you tell us if you're surprised or not, right? About what you're seeing. And this is really important, right? And so this is more about reducing uncertainty. Whereas I think up in the last 20 years, let's be honest, with all that ZERP and all that, people were making ginormous bets on very little certainty. And I think it came out about 50-50, right? Going to the cloud. DevOps itself is a 50-50 enterprise basically right now. You ask 50% of the companies, did DevOps work for you? Yeah. 50%, I don't even still know what it is, right? Like show me when we're doing it. So
The adoption curve.
So technology, yeah, it's about that. Reducing that uncertainty of is the technical side of my business meeting our goals? That's an easy question to ask. And then
Right.
we just say yes or no.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And then it's almost, I mean, in one view, we don't have to worry about, is it too expensive? Is it not too expensive? The question is, why is it here? And is it meeting that goal? Right? What problem was this supposed to solve for you?
Right.
Did it solve that problem? If it did, then, and was it worth the cost? Right? If we spent, if we spent $1,000 on a meal versus spending $20 on a meal, did it matter if it achieved the goal?
Yeah.
But so many times we get bogged down in the details. We get bogged down in the, in the acronyms, in the terminology on both sides. But we really have to come back to, why are we doing this?
I mean, I believe at some point in the semi-near future, we will trade technical debt. And I don't mean like I had to cut some corners coding. I mean the difference between the IT budget you said we're setting aside and what was delivered. We will start to trade those as securities because it's so important to how the business is, where you could basically trade your, we put 50 million in to build a new data center, and 2 years in, we're kind of failing. It's not arriving. And so that company could package that up and sell. They can raise new money on that debt to basically finish it out and sell that to someone else. But we need the language to basically describe the work. That's kind of where I feel like we can spend some time. Like, how do we start to make that sort of bill of materials and measure these technical outcomes aligned with the business? This is, I think, really interesting where it could go, just like building a building. And I think what happens more than people know is that buildings fail halfway. They run out of money. They have to refinance. There's all this stuff that happens, and it's the same on technical outcomes. We just don't admit it. And so we just don't have visibility into the fact that we're like remortgaging like 90% of our tech like all the time.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but
Well, it's a good conversation. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
it was awesome having you, Ben. I like the finance is an important part.
Well, honestly, I like this because it gives me different perspectives. I sit on a lot of fractional CFO calls in my industry, but this is a different perspective, and I hope I can bring you guys a different perspective on how I view it. Because
It's awesome. I really
I don't have
appreciate
an IT background in
Yeah.
any stretch.
it. Even if, and we managed to even talk about some fractional problems in here too. So
But I think the biggest thing in any fractional is knowing who your customer is.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll deal with very sophisticated people, and I'm sure you guys do as well. But then you got to recognize if you're dealing with a customer who Microsoft Excel is their challenge, and you got to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but speak a lot slower and a lot more. You got to know the level of the person you're speaking to.
my favorite example of this still, years ago, a couple of friends of mine, they were at a, talking to a head coach because they were selling software to coaches, and they were talking to the head coach, and they send him out at the computer and they start saying things, and he says, "Wait, I got one question. What's this?" So that really emphasized that guy knew how to say, "I don't have any idea what you're talking about," in a language they immediately recognized and could just change the tone with that one little symbol.
I'll give you one like that. I went into $100 million company. I had all these ratios, all this stuff to go over in a presentation. And 5 minutes into the conversation, the president said, I had to explain to them, assets are things you own, liabilities you owe other people. And I quickly realized all my ratios, just put them back in your bag.
Yep.
We're not even going to talk about any cash. Like, the conversation's over.
Yeah, I like the conversation about not billing for hours, because once you have someone who's not technical or not expert at what you do, then I just like double the price, right? Because I know I don't mind spending the time, but I know it's going to just take so much more hand holding to get them to the same place. So
Right.
Even worse is an opinionated person doesn't know it. Then we quadruple the price. Like you don't know
Oh,
what you're
they
talking
think
about,
they
and you have
know.
an
Yeah.
opinion. Now,
Yeah.
like the opinion's what's costing you here. Like basically, you can disagree with us, but it just costs more, right? Like
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, thanks, David.
Well,
Thanks, everyone. All right,
Thank you very
Yeah.
much,
take
guys.
care.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
You
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Bye-bye.